Hello everyone, I hope you have your brown pants on. We've got a new Unearthed Arcana and it's spooky. But is it spooky enough to fill the pants full of dookie? Let's find out. I don't have a camera because I just moved and my phone is broken and my backup camera is packed somewhere else. So you don't get to see my face today. That's the real terror of this Unearthed Arcana. We've only got 2 subclasses. I'm also going to review the Feats one that I missed while I was on vacation because it's pretty short and pretty easy to go through. However, even though there are only 2 subclasses, they're long. Well, one of them's long. First one is the College of Spirits Bard. This is a bard that talks to ghosts. First, you get the guidance cantrip, and it goes 60 feet instead of 30 feet, which is fine. You get 3 things at 3rd level. That's pretty good. You get a spiritual focus, which isn't really that special at this level. It gets better at 6th level, so we'll talk about it there. So the main feature of this class is Tales from Beyond, which lets you roll your bardic inspiration die and get a certain number of options. The table just shows you all the way to 12, even though you don't get a d12 until you're level 15 of bard. But for now, let's talk about different things you can do. Basically, roll the bardic inspiration die as a bonus action like you normally would. You can give someone an advantage on wisdom saving throws and attack rolls against a creature if they've got someone within 5 feet of them for a minute. You can give them a JoJo stand, which will show up as a ghost and hit them with force damage equal to double your inspiration die plus your charisma modifier. You can use the power of friendship to heal inspiration die plus your charisma modifier to the target and someone within 5 feet of the target. You can basically give them Misty Step, which is crazy. That's a 2nd level spell, but you let them teleport 30 feet as a reaction, which is maybe even better than Misty Step, and bring someone with them. That's number 4. That's a very good one. Avenger basically just says no you and hits people with the Bardic Inspiration die if they're attacked. And Hero gives them temporary HP equal to your Bardic Inspiration die plus your Bard level, and their walking speed increases by 10 feet. So those are the ones that you would get at this level. Once you hit the 5th level, you can roll a 7, which will let you charm them and make the person attack someone for you, and that uses up their action too. So if they fail that wisdom saving throw, not only does that make them attack someone else, they also lose their turn. So that could be very, very good. Next, you can do a Dark Spirit, which will make someone invisible, and they get to add your Bardic Inspiration die and necrotic damage to the next hit and frighten the person for the next round, which is really good on a rogue. If you put that on a rogue, the invisibility would probably give them advantage, so they'd get their sneak attack, they'd get extra necrotic damage with the Bardic Inspiration die. It'd be very good. Let's talk about 6th level. I said that we were going to talk about the spiritual focus. Basically, you get to add a d6 to 1 healing or damage dealing spell that you're casting through your spiritual focus. So it basically just makes all of your damage and healing spells better once per turn, which is very good. 6th level spirit bards get the Spirit Session ability, which lets you pull a spell from any list as long as it's necromancy or divination. You need to have a bunch of people with you and you can do a spell equal to your proficiency bonus depending on the amount of people you have with. So 6 would be the cap of your proficiency bonus, meaning the spell can never go above 6th level. Since lore bards get additional magical secrets here, I would say this is actually pretty weak, considering that's 2 spells and they don't have to be necromancy or divination, and you can do them whenever you want. You can swap these out on a long rest, but honestly I don't see it being super useful, and it takes an hour and your party needs to be with you every time you want to do it, so you're gonna have to like bother everyone in your party and be like, hey, we gotta do the ritual thing. So I don't know, I don't really like that ability. Once you hit the 10th level bard, you can roll a 9 or a 10, meaning you can roll for a giant or dragon spirit. Giant forces a strength saving throw on creatures within 30 feet and deals force damage equal to the Bardic Inspiration die and knocks people prone. They take half as much damage on a successful save and they aren't knocked prone. It's basically like a little thunder wave, and by a little thunder wave I mean a bigger thunder wave, and it strengthens. It's not really like thunder wave at all, but it's good. The dragon's really good. This is a 30-foot cone dexterity saving throw, deals 3 times your Bardic Inspiration die on a failed save, half as much on a successful one. So this can do some serious big fire damage, which is fun. Your last ability you get is the Mystical Connection, which lets you roll a d6 instead of using a Bardic Inspiration die for the Tales from Beyond feature, but you still use your full size d10 at 14th level, d12 at 15th level Bardic Inspiration die for the effect of the role. So basically you can do the Beast, Warrior, Friends, Runaway, Avenger, or Hero for free depending on what the die give you. And then 15th level you get the last two abilities, the last two spirits, which are Celestial and Unknown. Celestial's very good. It heals 2 rolls of the Bardic Inspiration die plus your Bard level, and it ends 1 disease or condition, either blinding, deafness, paralyzation, petrification, or poisoning. So it can basically do like greater restoration levels of healing with an inspiration die, which is pretty sick. The last one is the Unknown. This deals 3 Bardic Inspiration dies worth of psychic damage and makes the target unable to speak if they fail an intelligence saving. Intelligence is not a very common saving throw. A lot of people don't invest in it. This could be very good, and it can also make people shut up if you want them to shut up, but you've got to know that you've got it. Overall, I think that's the big issue with this, is that it's random. So even though I can see situations where you would want to use all of these options, you don't get to choose which option you get. Hopefully you get good stuff. Hopefully you get the stuff that you need and that you want, but if, for example, you get the Fey one when you're fighting something that can't be charmed, that's not good. All right, up next is the Undead Warlock. This is packed with liches and vampires and spooky, scary, ghosty stuff. First things first, the spells: Bane, False Life, Blindness, Deafness, Phantasmal Force, Speak with Dead, Phantom Steed, Death Ward, Greater Invisibility, Anti-Life Shell, Cloud Kill. Good spells. I thought Phantasmal Force was already a Warlock spell, and Bane can be with Thief of 5 Fates. First level, you get Form of Dread, which lets you transform yourself as a bonus action, giving yourself temporary HP equal to 1d10 plus your Warlock level. You can force a Wisdom saving throw on creatures you attack, frightening them until the end of your next turn, and you're immune to the frightened condition. You have an amount of these equal to your proficiency bonus per long rest. It's pretty good. I just have to compare it to Hexblade's Curse, which is much better, because Hexblade's like the strongest Warlock, I think, right now. So any Warlock that comes out that is worse than that is going to feel worse than that. This reminds me a lot of the Shifter from the Eberron book, temporary HP. The frightening is nice, and it's nice that there's no real reset on it. A lot of frightening spells and abilities have a once frightened in this way, it can't be frightened by you again. This doesn't have that, so you can just keep making things worse for a minute. If you can land those attacks, I feel like it kind of encourages you to have the Pact of the Blade instead of other stuff, although it is just an attack, so it could be a spell attack, could be your Eldritch Blasts as well. 6th level, you get Grave Touch, meaning you don't need to eat, drink, or breathe. I wish I would have had this for the Ichigo video that came out yesterday, because then we wouldn't have needed to dip so far into Warlock for that. Also, it's better. You can replace your damage with necrotic damage, and you can add an additional damage die of necrotic damage when you're using your Form of Dread. There's no limit to how many times you do that per turn, so if you've got the Thirsting Blade and you're attacking twice, you basically just get to roll double. So you could have a Pact of the Blade Great Axe and do 4d12 with 2 attacks. That's pretty good, and it's necrotic, which isn't as commonly resisted as physical. Get the Great Weapon Master on there too. Oof. All right, Mortal Husk lets you explode when you die, dealing 2d10 plus your Warlock level in necrotic damage to creatures within 30 feet of you, then reviving you instantly with 1 HP, and you get 1 level of exhaustion, so there is a penalty to it. You can only do this once per 1d4 long rest, so you've got to re-roll a d4, and that'll determine how long it takes to recharge. You also get resistance to necrotic damage, and when you're in the Form of Dread, you have immunity to necrotic damage at level 10, so that's really good. 14th level Undead Warlocks get Spirit Projection, which lets you send a ghost of yourself outside of your body for up to an hour. While you send your spirit out, you get resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage. When you cast a spell that's Conjuration or Necromancy, it doesn't require verbal, somatic, or material components that lack a gold cost, so that means if you have like Revivify or Resurrection stuff, you still have to do that. You have a flying speed equal to your walking speed, and you can hover. You can move through creatures and objects as if they were difficult terrain, but you take 1d10 force damage if you end your turn inside a creature, so you can walk through walls. While you're using your Form of Dread, once during each of your turns, when you deal necrotic damage to a creature, you regain an amount of hit points equal to half the damage dealt. Necrotic damage, but yeah. So that's really good. You get to send a barbarian that can fly and walk through walls and heal itself every turn. That's good. Weakness here is that you do have to concentrate it, so you can't do this and concentrate on spells at the same time, so no hold persons or anything like that while you're doing it, but you basically just get to send a ghost out to do your thing. Once you use this, you can't use it until you finish a long rest, so it's once per long rest. This is really good. This is a really strong subclass. I like it. It starts off a little slow, Form of Dread, but the Form of Dread just kicks off real freaking hard later in the class. So that is cool. Let's look at those feats. So I've already done a couple of builds that are coming out that have some of these feats on there. None of these I think are like game changers. There's not like a great weapon master or a sharpshooter in here. There's some good stuff. I don't want to deny that there's good stuff in here. Also, there's a chef one, and it came out like a month after I did my Shaggy video. So again, Wizards of the Coast, kind of watching my stuff, gripping my stuff. It's fine. It's fine. Make a thrown weapons monk if you're listening. Artificer Initiate, this is a great way to get calligrapher supplies on someone who's not a calligrapher, because it gives you proficiency with the type of artisan's tools, and you can use that tool as a spell casting focus for any spell that uses intelligence. You get 1 first level spell and 1 cantrip from the artificer list. Yeah, it's basically Magic Initiate with 1 less cantrip and a set of artisan's tools instead. And it has to be from the artificer list, I guess. Chef, this is the most important one. Your constitution or wisdom increased by 1. You get proficiency with cook's utensils if you don't already have it. As part of a short rest, you can cook special food as long as you have your utensils on hand. This whole big thing, a number of creatures equal to 4 plus your proficiency bonus. This is Song of Rest from Bard. It heals people an extra d8 of hit points on short rest. That's cool. But the big bonus here is you get to make treats, which last for 8 hours after being made. You can just do them at the end of a long rest. So you can just say, hey, as part of a long rest, I made Wonka bars. Creature can use a bonus action to eat one of those treats to gain temporary hit points equal to your proficiency bonus. And also, because I said Wonka bars, I could put Willy Wonka in the thumbnail. So you already saw it. You already clicked the thumbnail. You know. Crusher! There's a couple of these that are just like, hey, use bludgeoning weapon. Hey, use stabbing weapon. Hey, use slashing weapon. Hey, use gun. This is the bludgeoning one. This increases your strength or dexterity by 1 to a maximum of 20 once per turn. When you hit a creature with an attack that deals bludgeoning damage, you can move it 5 feet to an unoccupied space, provided the target is no more than 1 size larger than you. And when you get a critical hit with bludgeoning damage, you get to make an attack with advantage against the creature until the end of your next turn. Actually, all attack rolls against the creature are made with advantage until the end of your next turn. So you can kind of set up good combos there. If you've got a rogue, you can crush them down and then they get beat up, and that's good. Since it's only once per turn on the moving 5 feet, that's not huge. Eldritch Adept, yes, I know this one exists, but I record the videos in advance, so sometimes I will say things in the videos like, Warlocks are the only people who can get invocations. Basically, you just get to pick an Eldritch Invocation as long as you meet the prerequisites for it, and whenever you gain a level, you can switch it with something else that fits. So you can use this to get free mage armor. You could do it for Otherworldly Leap on any character to just jump at will. That could be fun, funny. I haven't really looked into all of the different invocations that would be good, but there's some good ones in there, so go check it out. You could mix this with Eldritch Blast from a Magic Initiate list and get Agonizing Blast if you wanted to be really cheeky about it. Fey Touch, this is a really good one. You get Misty Step and 1 spell from the first level of your choice, and you get to increase your intelligence, wisdom, or charisma. That means that a variant human, take a shot, I said variant human, can cast a 2nd level spell at level 1. It's Misty Step, which isn't gonna like melt anything, and your first level spell has to be from divination or enchantment schools of magic, but hey, you also get +1 to a score. So in addition to like getting a 2nd level spell, which I don't know that there are other feats that do, other than I guess Eldritch Adept now. Fighting Initiate, this is really good. You can just pick a fighting style. So if you want to punch things, but you don't want to go to class feature variants, you can do that. That would be Unearthed Arcana on top of Unearthed Arcana, but that ain't gonna stop me. Gunner, hey, let's talk about this. The Gunner feat exists. Yes, I know. I also know that guns exist in D&D, but just because they're in the Dungeon Master's Guide and they say, hey, your DM has to say that these are setting appropriate, and like other weapons don't have that. So I treat them like magical weapons, and I don't give magical weapons to characters because I don't know that your DM's gonna give them to you. Anyway, your dexterity goes up by 1, you get proficiency with firearms, you don't have to load them, and you can shoot people within 5 feet of you without disadvantage. It's crossbow expert, but on gun. and your dexterity goes up. So it's a little bit better than crossbow expert. No, you can't make the bonus action attack, it's worse. So I'm gonna keep using crossbows, and if you're mad about it, just comment. The algorithm will be cool with it. Meta Magic Adept, you get 2 meta magic options and 2 sorcery points. This could be really, really, really good to get Quicken Spell on something that isn't a sorcerer, like a warlock, to cast 8 beams of Eldritch Blast 2 turns in a row with Agonizing Blast. Big yikes. Piercer, this one's cool. I've already got this on a couple builds that are coming out. Strength and dexterity increased by 1. Once per turn, you can reroll the attack's damage die, and you gotta use the new roll. Basically just gives you, it's Savage Attacker on piercing weapons, and you can add an additional damage die when you critically hit. So it's Savage Attacker plus Strength and Dexterity and Brutal Critical from Barbarian, which is a 9th level ability. So I'd do that. I'd take that. That's pretty cool. Poisoner, you can make poisons. You resist poisons. You can code a weapon and opponents as a bonus action. Instead of an action, you get proficiency with a poisoner's kit if you don't already have it. And you can make a special type of poison that takes up 50 gold worth of materials and lasts for a minute on a weapon. It deals an extra 2d8 poison damage to creatures that fail a DC 14 Constitution saving throw, and they're poisoned until the end of your next turn. Kind of wish that that's scaled somehow, but other than that, it's good. Practiced Expert, this is kind of like the Prodigy feat, increases 1 ability score of your choice, you get a skill or tool proficiency of your choice, and you get expertise in 1 skill of your choice. Pretty simple stuff, but very good if you want just a quick expertise, or I see this as kind of like the tough feat, where I'll just throw it on stuff that I have an open ability score that I don't really need. Shadow Touch, you can cast the Darkness spell and 1 first level spell of your choice. Intelligence, Wisdom, and Charisma. This is like the Fey one, except instead of the schools for the first level one change, so Illusion and Necromancy. But other than that, it's that, if you want to cast Darkness. Shield training, strength, dexterity, constitution. You get proficiency with shields. You can don or doff a shield as the free object interaction on your turn. And if you have the spellcasting or pact magic feature, you can use a shield as the spellcasting focus. So this could be good if you want to yeet your shield. If you want to do the Captain America stuff, we've got a shield build coming out tomorrow that doesn't have this, because there technically aren't really rules for throwing a shield other than it being like an improvised weapon, but that's not good. Slasher, strength or dexterity go up by 1. This is the slashing one. Once per turn, when you hit a creature with an attack that deals slashing damage, you're going to reduce the speed of the target by 10 feet. Wow. You score a critical hit that deals slashing damage to a creature, you grievously wound it. Until the start of your next turn, they have disadvantage on all attack rolls. I think this is probably the worst of them, of the Piercer, Crusher, Slasher. It's not bad. If you really want to hack it up, it could be cool. Again, very inhuman, and you just want a little extra ability score. Tandem Tactician, you can use the help action as a bonus action. When you use the help action to aid an ally in attacking a creature, increase the range of the help action by 10 feet. Additionally, you can help 2 allies targeting the same creature within range when you use the help action this way. That is the really good part of this. Otherwise, just be a mastermind because they have 30-foot range. But helping 2 allies at the same time, double advantage. You got 2 rogues on your party, or just someone else who wants advantage. That's also allowed. That's cool. Tracker. You get your wisdom score increased by 1. All the tracker stands from Dimension 20. Shout out in the comments. Get the Hunter's Mark spell. You can cast it once without expending a spell slot. You can cast the spell using any spell slots you have. Wisdom is your spellcasting ability modifier for the spell, though, still. And you have advantage on wisdom survival checks to track creatures. This is just be a ranger if you want to do this. Use the class feature variance one. It's cast Hunter's Mark an amount of times per day equal to your wisdom modifier for free. Without concentration. It's a lot better. And you have advantage on wisdom survival checks to track creatures. Guess what? You get that when you cast Hunter's Mark as well. So just do that. Alrighty, so on the thumbnail, we're gonna have Ichigo, Willy Wonka, and of course, for that bard, I think Klaus from the Umbrella Academy would be great for that new bard college. I've definitely watched that show and didn't ask people in my Discord what I should do for that. Actually, I did. Shoutouts to Robin. Thank you very much. That'll do it for us today. What do you think of these new Unearthed Arcanas? Are you gonna allow them in your games? Are you gonna be a square and not? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, like, comment, and subscribe. Join the Patreon if you want character sheets, if you want to vote in polls, all that good stuff. Subscribe to Tulok and Mango, it's fun.